Hey, well, I'm Monica Weldon, and I'm with Bridge the Gap SYNGAP Education and Research Foundation, and we are based out of Houston, Texas. And my son, who is 10 and a half, was one of the first 6 in the world first diagnosed with this disorder in 2012. And it manifests itself as causing intellectual disability. It is an epilepsy gene, and our patients have a spectrum of epilepsies. Close to about 97% of all our patients have been diagnosed with some form of epilepsy. And recently it has been identified as being one of the top 2 single gene mutations linked to autism in the world. And so we are now looking at the different science behind SYNGAP1 and that protein and how it interacts with other things in the brain. We identified that it also is what controls sensory processing in these patients, and now we're looking at its overlap into other autism spectrum disorders. Some of the symptoms are the intellectual disability for sure, epilepsy. I would have to say many of our kids have speech impairment. Some say no words at all. Some have 5-word sentences. We have hypotonia, or low muscle tone. A lot of our kids have digestive problems, and we're now finding out, looking at the progression of the disorder, that they also have immunodeficiency or immune compromised systems, and they're very hard to stay well. They get infections and things like that a lot too. They have motor coordination problems. Sometimes they can present with CP or cerebral palsy at first before they get genetic testing, and so some of those are the more noticeable symptoms. Our kids actually don't have really many dysmorphic features of the face, so they look like normal kids, but these are all different kind of underlying symptoms that they have as they develop. So it's definitely a developmental disorder type disease. And the prevalence, I would have to say, currently in the world, they believe it's going to be 1 to 3 out of every 10,000 people diagnosed with this with intellectual disability. Looking at the high numbers, there's probably about 350 million people on the earth, I guess, out of 8 billion that are suspected to have this disorder. And that's why it's so important that they go for genetic testing, because we don't have currently any other ways to identify this disease besides the genetic testing. In the last 4 years, we've gone into a lot of translational type science. And we are also now in drug discovery, which is a great step towards clinical trials. We're currently looking for repurposed drugs to help treat some of the symptoms and the comorbidities that this disease has. And we are very close, from what I understand, and hopefully if we can find a hit on a molecule, which we're running now, most likely we will probably have gene therapy. We were very successful in our adult rat model, treating the adult rat with gene therapy. Of course, that's got a lot more development to go, but they were able to eliminate all the seizures and also improve memory and cognition, which is very hopeful, and we're hoping that translates into humans. So right now we're kind of in that stage of development, and we are currently collecting data through our patients to try to help build a really robust natural history study. So when we do get to that hit, we'll have something to compare it to when we go to clinical trial design. So we are hopeful that, I'm hoping that we'll have something in the next 3 to 5 years.